We're delighted now to call in our first guest, and I am going to invite Róisín Drayne to speak with us. Good morning, Róisín.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me.
You're very welcome. The pronunciation of your surname?
It's Drayne, so you got it right.
Okay, thank you. I was, do I put the emphasis on the Y or do I the emphasis on the complete? So, thank you for that.
Emphasis on the Y, I think, yeah.
Now, anyway, we're delighted to have you on board, and as your position with Engagement and Marketing Manager with World Vision, and of course, yesterday being the International Day of Education, and doing some research into what World Vision is about. It is really fascinating in relation to how you address the gender-based violence in relation to girls and women and that. So if you could broaden that out for us and explain it, all that is involved and what World Vision has in mind in relation to the International Day of Education around that point.
Certainly, yes. So for any listeners who are unfamiliar with World Vision, we're the world's largest child-focused NGO. So we're a relief, development and advocacy organisation who are dedicated to working with children and their families and communities to overcome poverty and injustice. And we've been doing this work for over 70 years now, and we're currently working in nearly 100 countries. And 70 years of experience really means that we have the expertise and the infrastructure needed to make a real impact and create really long-lasting, sustainable change. And one of the main ways we do that, and we reach these vulnerable children, is through our child sponsorship programme. And yesterday was International Day of Education. And on that day, we launched our 100 Girls campaign. And the aim of this campaign is to get 100 new sponsors for 100 vulnerable girls who are waiting by the 8th of March, which is, of course, International Women's Day. And we're really narrowing our focus on this particular campaign to focus on girls, as the latest statistics on the increasing violence against girls is really particularly grim. And we know that when a crisis hits, girls are usually the first to suffer. And as that violence continues to rise, World Vision are taking action. And we're asking the people in Ireland to join with us and sponsor a girl. And, you know, the question is, what is child sponsorship? So through child sponsorship, World Vision Ireland, we partner with communities around the world who are in need. And we invite them to identify their greatest needs and then work together to develop a plan. And we equip them with the resources and support they need to address their own specific challenges. And that can be anything depending on the community, from water and sanitation, health and nutrition, access to education, or the protection and empowerment of girls. And then we connect sponsors here in Ireland with a particular child in one of these area programs, and you're their only sponsor. And then your monthly sponsorship donations are pooled with other sponsors here in Ireland to fund long-term community development. And that really benefits your sponsored child, their community, their family, to overcome poverty and have long-lasting and sustainable change.
I think that's quite well laid out, because to bring a little realism to it, then we see this at first hand, what's actually happening in the world presently in relation to what's happening with Ukraine and what's happening with Gaza and what's happening with Yemen in relation to how women and children are treated, and the resultant activity that take place. Most of the people that have come into Ireland from Ukraine were women and children. And that shows the level of injustice. Some would say there is quite a lot of violence in all of that because of the military forces and that, and what they to overcome what they need to do under the regimes that they're operating under is put torture and fear and everything into people. The result is women and children suffer most.
Yeah, I mean, you've hit the nail on the head there. I mean, decades of research show that, you know, the burden really does weigh heavier on women and girls. it's girls who have to walk long distances to fetch water instead of going to school. It's girls who are expected to get married young to give her family one less mouth to feed when everyone's hungry around the table. And it's girls who are pulled from the classroom to care for their family. And then, I think one statistic that really puts that into context for me is that 12 million girls around the world marry before the age of 18. And that's 22 girls every single minute. And that's one statistic that, hits me particularly hard. And those numbers can be really daunting, but it doesn't mean that we can't act, as a country. And that's where the 100 Girls campaign is coming into effect. We're trying to make an effort to make a real and immediate impact on the lives of 100 girls and their communities. And we know it works. Lots of research has shown that the best way to help a single child or a girl is to build up their community and give them the power to kind of advocate for themselves as well.
Now, I'm sure that making a decision such as that to have it in place by early March, you must have had some pretty understanding surveys carried out to show you that this is actually the case. So you've had obviously previous experience of running similar campaigns, and the result of those are saying, well, we need to go forward. Is that really the thinking here?
Yeah, I think it really just shows you the urgency. Our colleagues are on the ground and they're seeing every single day the issues that girls are facing. And the work that we do, we know works. So we've kind of... we're now trying to get 100 sponsors together by the 8th of March, and it really is urgent. Just to show you one of the impacts that we've had, we have an area program in a place called Lunyo in Uganda, and we set up that area program back in 2006, and we're still working there now to this day. But from 2006 to current day, we've seen the percentage of child marriage decrease from over 30% to less than 1%. So I think that really puts into context the long-lasting effects, because those girls that now have the opportunity to go on and continue in education, to kind of advocate for themselves, to self-determine. And we know that child marriage it's an abusive practice that traps these girls in really dangerous situations, and it limits their ability to develop and to make their own choices. So that's really the point of this campaign, and having that deadline there just is really to push the urgency and show people that, yeah, you can make a difference if you join hands with other sponsors here in Ireland.
Yeah, and again, as you outlined, the success rate that you've had with just that little project itself shows you that there is, number one, there's a bigger issue, and number two, what can be achieved by a little dedication and a little getting in and organising and increasing the education capability for the girls so that they get the benefit themselves. So it's a total win-win situation for them.
Yeah, 100%. And actually, I heard recently a story from one of my World Vision colleagues in Bangladesh who shared Monica's story with us. And Monica, when she was a child, her family wanted her to marry. But Monica was a sponsored child, and through her sessions with World Vision, she had been taught, she had the knowledge and tools and social support and resources really available to stand up against child marriage, and she educated her family. And she avoided becoming a child bride herself. And now Monica's 18 years old, and she's actually helping other girls in her community to facing a similar fate. And her team have already successfully stopped 10 child marriages in their community. And I thought that was a really lovely story, because it goes to show that if you give these girls the chance to advocate for themselves and use their own voices, they go on and they have an impact on other young girls in that community. And I think that's a really important part of what we're doing.
It is, and as you outline it, it's a good story, but I have to go back to the point that culture is one of the biggest elements that one has to try and overcome in those situations. So getting at the grassroots and getting the girls themselves the empowerment through education that they can change the culture, basically.
Yeah, 100%. And that's a real cornerstone of child sponsorship, because we give these young children those opportunities, and we educate them about their own rights, and advocate for them to speak up for themselves. But we also work with the parents and teachers, faith leaders, and other community members, and we speak to them and we educate them to transform those really kind of social norms and strengthen protective networks around these children. And that's a really important part of it as well, is you're 100% right, just educating people about how these social norms can be really harmful and how they can actually do something about it.
Very good. Now, bringing it back into the realm then of exactly what you're about, looking for 100 sponsors. If some of our listeners have a wish to become a sponsor for such an undertaking, how can they go about it?
Yeah, so for more information, you can visit our website, and that is worldvision.ie, or you can give us a call at the office, and we'd be happy to talk anyone through the campaign or our work. And you can call us on 01 498 0800.
Okay, just repeating that, so you can get all the information you want on worldvision.ie, or call the office on 01 498 0800.
Yes, that's correct.
Well, listen, we wish... where are you with the 100 volunteers at this stage? Are you close? Are you 50%? Are you 60%?
Well, we've only launched yesterday, so I think we only have one or two so far.
Well, this is a great opportunity for our listeners to be first in.
Exactly.
Go ahead for it. It's an admirable undertaking. And I have to say that the biggest challenge, of course, will be to overcome the culture. But the way you have outlined it by undertaking the education of the girls within the local community, and that they will then take the baton and run with it and educate their own people.
Yeah, exactly.
Listen, Róisín, it's been a pleasure speaking with you, and we're delighted that you came on to explain everything about the gender-based violence for International Day of Education and your aim to have 100 sponsors for 100 girls by March the 8th. We appreciate your effort.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome.